Okay, for goRIA, I'm Chuck Bala. And as always, this week we're going to be talking about what is new on the goRIA website, which you can easily access by going to www.goria.com, goria.com. Okay, so actually there's a bunch new, but the one I really want to focus on today features a podcast that I just did recently with Chen from NewRetirement, and Steve is with us today. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Chuck. Good to see you. And it's my first live stream, so thanks for having me on.
All right, you're doing great so far. And before we start talking more in depth with Stephen, as always, we're going to just chat for about 5 or 10 minutes about the most recent content. I do want to take a moment to give thanks to our sponsor, LPL Financial. And as I like to say, if you like LPL as an independent broker dealer, you will love LPL as a RIA custodian. And also, I do want to acknowledge the fact that we are at the Portfolio Summits conference here in Palo Alto. Just an absolute fantastic conference. A lot of great ideas being exchanged here with RIAs for their summit, and certainly being in Palo Alto in October is not a real sacrifice for yours truly. Just a beautiful, like fall weather, just really enjoying it, and just a phenomenal food scene too. I don't know how everyone here stays so thin. You got some great restaurants. Okay, having said all that, let's bring it back to Steve. So Steve, I know we had a great chat, and that podcast is on the goria.com website right now. It just got released this morning. And it was a really fascinating topic about utilizing financial planning, which most RIAs are really into financial planning, but utilizing it specifically as a DIY prospecting tool. Right. So now, Steve, without giving too much away, right, we want people to listen to the full podcast. So maybe a little teaser. Tell us a bit about what we talked about.
Sure. Yeah. No, Chuck, appreciate the opportunity to be on the goRIA podcast. And it was great to see you at the FPA Summit a couple of weeks ago in Phoenix. And I should have just shot down to Palo Alto, done this live, because
that's right.
I'm like 45 minutes away. But yeah, no, I mean, essentially what we're doing is, we built essentially like TurboTax for planning. And so we give anyone the ability to start their own financial plan and kind of get their feet wet. And this isn't meant to replace advisors. It's really meant to augment it and make it planning advice more accessible. So let anyone get started, kind of like go as far as they want with financial planning. And then usually consumers, they're not CFPs, right? They're not financial advisors. Eventually realize that, hey, there's a reason that advisors exist, and there's a lot of expertise here, and they raise their hand and they ask for help. And that's the motion we see. We have our own consumer version that we run as a lab. We've proven a lot of the stuff. We have thousands of people creating financial plans every month, and hundreds in classes, and people raising their hand. So we know this works. And so we're really just trying to bring this platform to more people through advisors, and help advisors serve more people themselves. So, like yourself, you're a super tech-enabled financial advisor. You're doing this kind of stuff, like, getting thousands of people to engage with you. Is like, hey, let them kind of like raise their hand and say, just, instead of making a phone call, if they don't want to do that, if they just want to I just want to check out what, Chuck and Sovereign Wealth can do, they can go, start engaging in a more digital first way.
Yeah, and so I think it's a fantastic concept, and it really solves for something that we've been looking for a solution for some time, which is two main markets. I think the conference is coming up for lunch here. This is live TV here. Look at all this stuff. Okay, good. So what we have found most success with, and what we're most looking forward to using this for, are really two groups. One, the KOCs, which, as we like to call them, the kids of clients, and the other is going to be for the participants in 401ks, right? So those younger clients, kids of clients, and the smaller balance participants in the 401ks, do they need a full-blown CFP with a full-blown CFP fees to do their work? Day one, maybe not. But if we could utilize a system where they can easily do a do-it-yourself, hold on, let me just maybe relocate a little bit here. Sorry, everyone. Everyone's waiting for the food line over here, as you can see. So what we've been using it for is giving them a starting point, right? And then we can monitor this. And once someone sort of graduates from do-it-yourself to needing an actual human being, it makes it easy for us to step in, which we think is just a brilliant way to do it. What other use cases are you seeing for this, other than the KOCs, like kids of clients, and the participants in the 401ks? How else are you guys seeing RIs utilize this technology?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think today advisors attract kind of those, do-it-for-me people, right? It's like, hey, I don't want to touch my money. I need an expert. But they also probably run into many of the, do-it-with-me validators. And there's probably some DIY people that might hear them and on the radio or kind of hear of them, and they're not quite sure. So I think the idea of like, hey, let people get started on their own, start to get their feet wet, start to learn what's involved. Like a lot of our users, they really do care about tax efficiency. They want to get a kind of a full sense of, how much money they have, how they could use it in different ways. The big thing people are really trying to figure out with their money is like, will I outlive it, right? Do I have enough to pay for the rest of my life? And we really try to frame that up. But then there's a lot of nuances to, how should you draw your assets? When should you take Social Security? Should you do Roth conversions? What are those things? What are required minimum distributions? There's all these things that you learn about in the course of thinking about retirement that we start to educate people on. So they start to get familiar. It's like, I would say, think of it like a model. It's like, when we go to the doctor now, we do a lot of research about, hey, I've got, my shoulder hurts. Like, what could this be? Like, you're researching it and you walk into the doctor with like a lot more insights, but you still want to talk to the doctor.
Right. Well, I think that's a really good point. Maybe we'll end it on this, right? So it's not just to do it yourself, but to do it with them, right? And especially now with RIA starting to explore different ways of charging fees. And that seems like it'd be a great fit for like a subscription model, right? Maybe a couple $100 a month. You're going to do most of it online, utilizing your resource that you guys have. But then I'll consult with you and kind of do it with you. And for a couple $100 a month, maybe I'm only investing of my time 30 minutes twice a year. That's a pretty good rate of return for my use of time. So I think that's a pretty good solution as well. Okay, so Steve, I think we're going to end on that note, right? So this is a teaser, as they say in the media business, right? So please check out goRIA.com, easy to get to. And Steve's podcast that we just recorded last week is right up there as the first one to see. There's also a lot of great content, as Steve kind of alluded to earlier. Just coincidentally, we were both at the FPA National Conference last week, and there's probably 7 or 8 really cool live streams that the recordings, the full replays are available now on that goRIA.com. So there's probably 8 or 9 new pieces of content to look at just over the past week. So on behalf of Investment News and goRIA, I'm Chuck Philip. Thanks for joining us. And Steve, thanks for joining us as well. And I know a lot of people are going to look forward to that podcast.
Awesome. Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate it.
Okay. Appreciate your time. And we'll see you all next week. Thanks for joining us.
Take care. Bye.